It's Q&A day.
Q&A. We're starting to get a lot more questions
Oh my gosh.
coming into the channel, so it is time for us to walk over to the lodge in the Chateau estate and start our Q&A. We're going to answer some of the more interesting questions. Some of them are actually pretty extensive.
Yeah. And this set of questions highlight our challenges and our failures, but they're not what you think. So we're going to be answering them today, and hopefully you learn a thing or two from the answers that we got from our questions.
Hey, I'm Monty.
I'm 16, and welcome to Saving Castles. Today we're answering your questions about what we got completely wrong and
Oh no, is that a good idea? Oh, so.
Yeah. Let's answer some of the hard questions today, shall we?
All right.
What we got completely wrong and how those failures led to something even better than we imagined.
Oh, for sure. Well, we didn't just escape to rural France being completely clueless.
That's a disclaimer before you think we're
Yeah.
just...
Exactly. This journey, it took a lot of research, and we did a lot of research. We watched a lot of YouTube videos.
Hours and hours.
And from the paperwork that was required, we realized we had a long list because we wanted to stay long-term. And in fact, we applied for a long-term stay visa that's good for a year at a time.
Yeah.
We were thinking about what city we wanted to settle in, what area of the country, some of which we're going to cover.
Yeah, so even then, we did a lot of research, spent a lot of hours trying to prepare ourselves for the move to the rural French countryside. But even then, there were still a few things that caught us off guard or threw us off our initial plan, which leads us to question number 1. Wasn't the whole idea to buy a chateau right away? What happened there?
Yeah, exactly. It sounded easy. Just go to France and buy a chateau and start renovating.
Easy peasy, right? Well, that was the original idea. That was the hope. That was the wish, I should say, to find a chateau right away, or at least in the first 6 months of arriving here. But instead, we learned that this isn't something that you rush. So although we had a vague idea of what we wanted out of a chateau, it turns out that there were a ton of things that we should also be considering.
And we've already been here 6 months now. In fact, probably today, within the next few days, will be our 6-month anniversary. So we did narrow down the areas we wanted to be in, and we settled on generally the Loire Valley area for now. But perhaps we just underestimated how many options there truly are. How many different parts of France are so incredible and so wonderful. And they're all different.
Yeah.
You have to weigh the good with the bad, certainly, but all these properties we looked at have always come with their own unique set of problems. So, might be a common wall with a neighbor that you're unsure of. It could be the neighbor from hell, and you just don't know.
I didn't even know that was a thing, honestly.
They're smiling at us and waving at us, but who knows, once we start construction and the renovation, or we start having people arrive to stay, or...
They could report you for just noise.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well anyway, septic systems that don't work, or how about the last property, one of the episodes that we posted, the septic system for the last 30 or 40 years drained into the moat. We wondered why the moat was so green.
Yeah, and it turns out everything from the 70s was just being expelled into the moat.
Well, and we realized that really
that's typical. I mean, it's not, a lot of chateaus, have that, but it's just the idea. I guess the idea of it shocked me a little bit.
Well, the idea of that shocked me was that the instant it, and of course, like you said, historically, that is what moats were designed for, one of the aspects besides protection. So it wasn't unusual to see that, but what we found out was that the moment we took ownership, we fell under a new set of requirements.
Yeah.
Everything had to be updated to today's standard, not the standard from 300 years ago.
Yeah, just because it was built that way doesn't mean it has to stay that way, or that it could stay that way, because legally we're bound to update that so that it's livable and it's safe.
And all of these little things that we learned along the way only came about by actually being there. In fact, we were getting ready to look at one property that showed up on the market, and it had only been on the market for 24 hours. The real estate agent called us. He said, this could be a perfect renovation project. He said, unfortunately, somebody from Australia has already put in an offer sight unseen. We thought, you know what? We'll let them have it.
Yeah, because I don't know if I'm that much of a risk taker to actually do that.
No.
I don't know. They have lots of courage.
If you haven't learned enough yet to understand that real estate listings, the images you see or maybe a possible video and the way they describe it, it is only part of the story.
Yep. There is a reason why they're for sale, of course. And so you go there to find out why. Like, there is a good question on our YouTube asking us if we've inquired about the internet reception in the chateaus, which is a great question because we need internet. We're content creators. We obviously want to keep making these videos. And for me, I think personally, it was just, I always just assumed internet was okay. It was gonna be okay no matter where we were because that's what I'm used to, I guess. But having stayed in different chateaus, we learned that we can absolutely stay in one where reception is impossible and you could be
downright medieval.
Yeah. You could just...
And since we are actually independent contractors to a certain extent, we rely on those connections.
Yeah, so yeah, it's taking us longer than expected to be chateau owners, but this failure gave us insider knowledge that no quick buyer could have.
And you know, one of the things that's changed just recently, within the last year or so, is, well, first of all, many of these old properties do have close access to fiber, which is very high speed. But also now Starlink is available across all of France. And so really, as remote as you possibly think you will be, you're going to have high-speed internet one way or the other.
Yep. Question number 2. Looking back, was there one thing you completely misjudged about escaping to rural France?
Oh, that we'd be able to figure out everything on our own.
Yep.
No way.
We had this spirit of we're independent, we can figure it out.
Just join a few Facebook groups and
how hard could it be?
A few YouTube videos and we should have it all down. Well, in the US it was so easy to move from city to city, and you go there and you look things up, you Google it, and you call the utilities, you call the internet, you get everything set up
within a day,
maybe a couple days at the most. But out here it's really important and extremely valuable to have a community of people that you have developed a relationship with that can give you local advice.
Yeah.
We've done our own research, on how to set up bank accounts and phone plans and other things, but, on how to get a car. That was one of our first priorities, where to get car insurance. And we were able to do most of that, get it accomplished relatively easily because of advice people had given us that we met. And I will say this, is that many of the YouTube videos we watched about the drama associated with getting a bank account or buying a car, many of those things we found not to exist.
It wasn't as hard as we thought it was.
If you're a little bit organized,
you've
made some contacts and they can point you in the right direction, it's not to worry about. Some of those things actually will go quite smoothly.
Yeah, as long as you have a community of people just giving you advice. And thankfully, these people are really good. They're friendly, they're warm, and they're so generous with that kind of information to help you out.
Yeah, so, that community is important. So the answer to the question, bottom line, is thank goodness what we learned is we opened ourselves up.
Yeah, and it's the same in buying a chateau. In our journey, the advice from the people we've known has been really instrumental in narrowing down our options. So we're getting really great advice, to list some of them.
Yep.
We're told that it's important to have a chateau that is within or close to the tourist circuit, especially if we're going to turn that chateau into an Airbnb or an events place. We're also told that the surrounding area is important because you want to be able to do day-to-day activities like grocery markets or just fun stuff for your guests. And this kind of information you can only get from someone or people who have been owners for a long time or are also looking for a chateau. So community.
And of course, medical services is a big part of that, and education. So if you've got kids, you think about coming here, but it's all readily available for you to discover. So it's not hard to find that information.
Question number 3, be honest. How bad was the language barrier really? For me, me. I'm going to speak for myself.
Well, I know because I don't speak French. So you can speak for yourself.
You're going to change that, right? You're going to learn.
I'm beginning to work on it. Slowly but surely.
So for me, it depends where I am. There are moments when it's easier, like grocery shopping or ordering food, because I don't want to starve. So that's the kind of vocabulary that I chose to learn first. But there are times when it's really difficult, like when we were buying a car, because my vocabulary just wasn't there yet. I didn't know, how to translate certain words that were important. And we wanted to make sure you were buying the correct car. So that was really, really difficult.
But with the car, let me throw this in there.
Yeah.
I worried a lot about purchasing a car because of all the stories I've heard about all these things that you have to worry about. And the reality is when we got to the dealership, most people, the salespeople didn't speak English. The receptionist didn't speak English, but they found a mechanic who came out and did the translation for us. It was no big deal.
Yes.
It was great.
You try your best.
Yeah, and they'll help you.
And they'll help you. And there was the kind of just very generous, just a helping hand, because we were obviously struggling. I was trying my best to speak to them in French, the best French I could, to get them to understand the kind of car we needed. And so they offered their help. Someone translated. Everything was good. And they are very patient. So as far as the language barrier, it really depends where I am, but this is definitely something I wish I had taken more seriously and learned maybe 6 months before we left. I certainly had some time to, dedicate maybe 1 hour a day. If you're at this spot, you're thinking about moving here, and you're maybe months away, learn your French now.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that has really been a revelation to me and to us, because she does speak some French. I really don't speak the language at all, and I'm just taking those initial steps to learn. But you've all heard of AI, and many of you have probably tried it before. Some of you may be a little apprehensive about artificial intelligence, but using a free AI account like ChatGPT or Claude or some of the other platforms out there, just the free version, you can now give it a prompt or a command verbally, or type it in and ask that to translate for you.
Yep.
Something as simple as, I'm going to be in a conversation and the person I'm speaking with speaks only French, I speak only English. I would like you to translate simultaneously. When I speak, translate it to French. When they speak, translate it to English. And it's free and it worked flawlessly. I think what we need to do is we really need to talk about the use of some AI tools, because doing research for French legal regulations, everything from buying a car to getting car insurance to health insurance and all the things that you're concerned about, all those answers are within AI. So it was so exciting and such an eye-opener. We actually use AI in our business, but to use it for some of the personal goals, day-to-day needs, it was wonderful. So if you want to learn to speak fluently, using AI is a great free tool.
Yeah, or at least learn some vocabulary day to day, which is what you're doing with it. You know how to read road signs now.
Hey, yes, exactly. But interesting, a year before we left, I bought a translation app.
Yeah.
And I paid $30 for it.
Yeah.
And now I can get the same features free on AI.
Amazing.
So save yourself the time if you haven't purchased an app. And it works even better than Google. Google does not do Google Translate, which many of us use and we've used a lot, does not do a simultaneous vocal translation.
You always have to click to flip it.
Yep.
And we actually used that when we were buying a car. We actually had our phones in front of us where I was speaking, and then they were translating, but we always had to manually flip those buttons from French to English.
It's a little cumbersome, but with ChatGPT,
it just listens to you and
it does it all.
Yeah.
How cool.
So amazing. So try it. Question number 4. Did the money side of things catch you off guard?
Definitely. It's a time warp here. It seems like pricing, especially in the Loire Valley where we're living now, that things are way cheaper from a food standpoint than they are in the U.S. Now, I'm not talking about eating out necessarily, but even eating out, it's less expensive. Eggs, food, wine, You can buy a terrific wine here for what, €2 or €3?
Yeah, you can splurge and get the 5.
You can splurge and you can spend €5 on a great bottle of wine. But eggs, for example, €2 or €3 for a dozen really high quality eggs. Our utility, they'll tell you our car insurance with, I would say we have an average traffic record. I used to be a police officer, so I've kind of kept my record clean a little bit, but for the most part. But I will say to you, our
What do you mean for the most part?
well, as far as I know,
Wait,
no,
something I don't-
I've kept it clean.
Okay.
All right, but car insurance, we're only paying €52 a month, and we got full comprehensive with all the bells and whistles associated. If some of you want to know about car insurance, we'll put the name of the company in the comments, so just comment below. And let's talk about our x-ray bill. We needed an x-ray for immigration.
Oh, yeah, tell the story. So we're on the phone, right?
Yeah, we're on the phone. We had to make an appointment for a lung x-ray or chest x-ray. And we have our insurance we were required to purchase as a result of getting our long-term visa.
Yeah.
But it didn't cover an x-ray if there wasn't something wrong. So I was thinking, oh my God, how much is this x-ray going to cost us?
Oh, and they actually had a long, oh, we apologize, but we're going to have to charge you
And I said, well, how much is it?
€15, they say, plus maybe 10 for some fees. And we were like,
And they looked at us, they paused and looked at us like, is that going to be okay? I said, you don't realize that in the United States, that would probably be $500 for an x-ray
sure.
or more. So
just shocked. Plus,
medical expenses, even if you have to pay out of pocket, really here are so incredibly reasonable.
but other things can be expensive, like
Yeah, gas is a little expensive. It's here by the liter. I would say it's probably, if I would generalize a little bit, twice as much. So you focus on an economy car, we get good mileage, and wow, it's been fine.
So it's definitely not Paris. Living in the Loire Valley countryside is much, much more affordable. And of course, this is only the everyday stuff that we're talking about. We haven't gone into the details of renovating a house. So like renovation costs, we're going to get into that when we cross that bridge. But again, we were told that it's all about finding the right people through word of mouth that can give you good rates. So I'm going to say for the everyday things, though, for a household of 2, we learned from people who have spoken to us, it's what are the things that you need to spend for the rent, which could be about €1,000 out here in the countryside. Food, maybe €300 a month. We're talking monthly. Maybe some other expenses too if you have kids.
Utilities, it's not included.
But for a household of 2, just the 2 of us, maybe so you can live on €2,000 to €3,000 a month.
For sure. So for those of you that are watching that might be living on your retirement, or you've just obtained Social Security, wow, you're very close to being at a point, depending on where you live. We're in a little bit more of an expensive area, but going a little farther south of us. If we go towards the coast, we head west. There are more expats there, and things tend to get a little more expensive in the areas that have bigger concentrations of expats. But yeah, that's a good range. It's a good place to start if you're wondering.
Last question. So after everything, do you feel like you made the right move to escape to rural France? Definitely. For me, I feel like now that we've moved, there's been a shift in our personalities a little bit. I feel like we're more open to making new friends and knowing more people. So in the US, we kind of kept to ourselves because everything we could just order online. There was almost no reason to go out.
Such a bad habit.
There was almost no reason to go out. Also,
I think we had many reward points on DoorDash.
Yeah.
And we've saved so much money.
Just because going out maybe costs you $100, $150.
And this video is one of the questions was not about tips, but you generally don't tip here. But let me tell you, tipping has gone insane in the United States. 20 to 30% or more. And now that we hear that this new tax bill that may or may not be approved in the United States will make tips tax-free. So can you imagine how the pressure is going to exponentially increase when you're at a restaurant and they know that that's tax-free money for them? Oh my gosh. Okay.
To eat out is a decision. It's definitely a discussion. It's like, hey, are we going to have some dinner? I was like, oh,
Oh, I don't know. So
Should we share dinner? Maybe just
order one big platter and just share it. So we kept to ourselves and we basically stayed in for the most part. But now that we're out here in the countryside, my personal goal isn't for us to become social butterflies, just because our personalities aren't really, we're not that. But we have to have more social experiences. Now that we're here, it's not impractical to do that anymore. So to have more social experiences where we could go on the picnic, go into the park where people just hang out, go to museums. A lot of these chateau tours are either free or just very, very affordable. Those social experiences give us an understanding of this brand new city that we're living in that we can't find elsewhere.
so we really failed at our unrealistic plan. That's where we failed. We had different expectations that moved along at a much faster pace than we anticipated. But in the end, we succeeded at something much better and had gotten more out of it. We're so much more informed, and we have a better grasp of the realities of a chateau search. And it's a big part of what we're doing here because we're bringing you along on the journey. And we're sharing the ups and downs, the things that we do right, the things that we do wrong. And it will transition from our rural French life here to the purchase of a chateau, to the renovation of a chateau. So we're really going to be including on Saving Castles here on YouTube. We're right in the middle of it, and we're going to be sharing it all with you. We're going to document our entire journey from start to finish, and put it all here for you to critique and offer us advice, whatever you'd like to do. But we're so excited to have you along on this journey.
You're reading the storybook from chapter 1 as it's being written.
Yeah, not just the end chapter, which is the best one probably, where everything comes together.
In retrospect.
Every day is wonderful, and there's a wonderful project, and everybody's happy, and the grass is green, and it's mowed, and the chateau looks wonderful, and everything's been renovated. Not the case.
No, it's not going to be here. So if you want to join in the fun, subscribe to the channel because there's a lot of adventure waiting for you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing your questions with us. We're answering all the comments on our videos, and we will continue to answer as many questions as possible every week. And
So ask us some more questions, and we'll make sure that we answer them either in the comments or feature those questions in a video like this. So if you're already subscribed, whether here on YouTube or on Patreon, we want to thank you for your support. Your support means a lot to us.
I'm a little distracted here because I'm looking up and there's a bird flying around. Do you hear the bird? There's a bird. Okay, so we're going to go deal with the bird. Now, that's something we didn't have on our list to deal with. Birds inside because the windows have no screens.
I just
So
hope they don't poop on us. So we better get out of
we
here.
better go. We got to get the bird.
We'll see you on our next episode.